down, down, out. What's up, everybody? You are tuned into season 2 of the 2024 ESTY-nominated show, the Elks Call, presented by Shotgun Sports Network. My name is Scout, aka the rep from Section X.
And I'm Catherine, aka Do Even Elks.
And we have a stacked show up ahead for everybody. Joe Pritchard of Rouge, White, and Blue and the Winnipeg Terminal will be joining us shortly. But we haven't had a show in a couple weeks, so it feels good to be talking Elks despite the recent loss. Kathy, how are you feeling?
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. It's coming.
Let's go, Ryan Messer in the Herd Chat Championship. Ryan Messer in the media realm is a champ. We can say that. He just covered the Birmingham Barons in the minor leagues down there in Birmingham, Alabama. So shout out
Pretty
to
cool.
you, Ryan Messer, for tuning in and on your recent win, buddy. That was awesome. That was a great job, great shots. You can check them out on shotgunsportsnetwork.ca shortly. And you can also go over to Shotgun Sports Network Alabama to see the latest from Ryan Messer. Go check them out, everybody. But we're going to get the show started in just a moment. First, we're going to thank you, the viewer or listener, for tuning in tonight, whether you're on YouTube, which is Shotgun Sports Network, Facebook, X, or if you're listening, well, not X anymore, but if you're listening on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Edmonton Sports Talk, or wherever you get your podcasts, we salute you. And if you could possibly hit the like, subscribe, follow, favorite, all of that stuff while we're here, we would greatly appreciate it. Thumbs up. All right, tonight on the Elks Call, we're going to open up with some special announcements from Shotgun Sports Network. Then we'll dig into the Herd Report, talking about the latest Edmonton Elks game news and transactions. Following that, we'll give you an Edmonton sports update, and then we'll cap the show with the Fan Forum, where we discuss hot topics surrounding the Edmonton Elks, the CFL, and sports world as a whole. You know the drill. Blow up the Herd Chat so you can get your comments onto the show. Let's get on to these announcements, because we got a lot of Elks to talk about. We got ourselves a game to talk about. Today's announcements are brought to you by Puck and Pigskin. Jason Basic covers all things Stamps, CFL, Calgary Flames, and NHL. Go check him out every Tuesday live on Shotgun Sports, which I was just on, and we actually had a little bit of a leak over there, or exclusive. We gave an exclusive that we're actually going to talk about on the show today. So Puck and Pigskin sometimes gets it first.
Yeah, apparently.
Sometimes they get it first, right? So new article is now up on Shotgun Sports Network. It took a minute, but it's definitely there. Go check it out. ESTYs, we ended up with a Final Four nomination at Edmonton Sports Talks Awards, which is the ESTYs. So it was a fun time. You had a blast.
Yeah, that was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was great. I really enjoyed the ESTYs, so that was fun. Thanks a lot to EST for having us out for that. Big announcement, and this is an Edmonton Elks. I'm pretty sure this is an Elks issued bag right here.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure this is an Elks issued bag.
There's goodies. There's also goodies inside, by the way.
All sorts of goodies.
And just for those who are listening and not watching, that is a backpack that he is opening that was given to us by the Elks with some prizes inside that will be given to the winner of
the winner of going into space. So here we have, that was awesome. Here we have, very intensely, a Jake Julian signed 75th card.
Turn that off.
But a Jake Julian signed card here. There's also a football, there's a flag, there's a cowbell.
Yeah, there's lots of goodies. We'll make a post with all the prices, and John here on the chat, how do you get that backpack? I want one too bad and we can't buy them. Well, the winner of the second annual chili cook-off will get one.
Yes. So that backpack there with all the goodies in it, the Edmonton Elks have jumped on as a sponsor for the chili cook-off. They were the last sponsor that we were waiting for, so it's really cool that the Edmonton Elks have jumped on for that. It's also presented by ourselves, the Elks Herd, the Turf District Podcast, Edmonton Sports Talk, and You Need a Barbecue. So this is happening on October 5th. It'll be bigger and it will be better than last year's event. If you want in, first off, you do have to have a tailgate spot. Excuse me. So unfortunately, you do got to have a tailgate spot. You do have to have a tailgate spot. Now, second, you're going to email admin@shotgunsportsnetwork.ca. You can also check out our page, The Elks Herd, on social media. We've posted the flyer everywhere, so it has the rough guidelines. We will be contacting those that applied with the rules to let them know the fine print on everything. But we have a lot of good prizes already rolling in for this. We haven't even gotten the rest of the prizes yet, but our partners have already been awesome on this. So thanks everybody for getting involved. But we really want to see some more applications in the inbox there. So we do have 30 spots available, 25 regular, 5 vegan. And hey, you know what? If we only get 25 entries,
that works.
We're still going to push to get some vegan chilies out there as well, right? So
we have one so far.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. So chili for everybody. Get on into that. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. That's it for announcements.
Yeah.
Now, next up, we have The More You Didn't Know, where we're going to talk to our guests about a variety of topics. The More You Didn't Know is brought to you by the Winnipeg Terminal. Catch the flight with Mike and Joe every second Wednesday as they get you fueled with all the latest in Bombers and Jetsland. Wheels up.
Are you going to introduce our guest?
Our Joe. Our guest today is Joe Pritchard.
He's our Joe.
He's our Joe. We call him our Joe apparently now over at Shotgun Sports Network. But Joe Pritchard.
Been promoted.
The Winnipeg Terminal and the Rouge, White, and Blue podcast. Man, thank you so much for joining us once again. It's definitely been a minute, but you're back on the show, man. Since our teams have started to play better since the last time we talked, Joe.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. Before we get into the sports talk, how have you been, man?
It's been great. Just the same old, getting the Rouge, White, and Blue out every week. Trying my best to keep up with everything, and also trying to raise a 6-year-old who, that's always an interesting endeavor no matter what you're doing.
Yes. Agreed.
We do know how that goes.
That's a fun age, though, but that's the age that they also think they're 15, and they start getting a little mouthy. So
just a little.
Yes. We do have congratulations here from John on the win last weekend in Edmonton. But the Elks are going to win in Winnipeg, and we'll talk about this. But for now, I want to know, the Winnipeg Jets preseason is ramping up while the Bombers are in the back half of the regular season. Is this the best time of the year for sports fans?
Yes. and don't even Winnipeg just had its team in its baseball team in the American Association playoffs. So that's been going on. If you're an MLB fan, playoffs are ramping up. If you like other sports, basketball's starting soon, college football's going on. September and October and even into November is just like, here, have all the sports and just remember this good time because February is coming sooner than you think.
Yes. Especially in Winnipeg. I've heard horror stories about those winters.
Yes. Yeah. February. That's exactly it. And I wish we were more excited about MLB right now, but the Blue Jays have been horrible. Not. So,
nope.
Yeah. No October baseball for us fans, for the Blue Jays anyways.
Well, you can always root for a team that's named after the people that make beer, because you like beer, right?
That's true. That's true. I guess.
If you need a bandwagon team, we're happy to provide some space for you.
I like the logo most of all, I think. The Milwaukee Brewers have a pretty good logo.
And that was actually designed by a guy from the same university I went to in Eau Claire, way back in like the 1970s. So he predated me some, even though it might not look like it these days.
Oh, that's so
That's
funny.
funny.
But speaking of Winnipeg, getting back to Winnipeg, outside of the state of Minnesota here, or the state of Wisconsin,
I always
the
forget.
state of Wisconsin.
I'm sorry. I always forget that you're not in Winnipeg.
No, he's just a Winnipegger at heart.
Yes, and I happen to have with the Winnipeg terminal, like we've mentioned before, 2 guys from Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, talking Winnipeg sports. The
So
only podcast that does that, I guarantee it.
Seriously.
very much so. Super weird. I always forget all the time. I'm pretty sure my last comment about Winnipeg's winters is because I forgot that you were not.
Well, I mean, it's pretty clear that winters there are not a whole lot of fun, but I mean, because on our coldest days, we're getting the wind straight out of the northwest, and guess what's northwest of us?
Very true.
Well, exactly. But luckily, you made it up there in the summer. You recently went to a game up there at it's Princess Auto Stadium now, right?
Yep, or just the stadium, as everybody calls it.
Or
because
just the
corporate name-
stadium.
I'm not paid. I'm not paid enough to have to slap the corporate name on things. But yes, it was a blast. Got to see the Bombers win another game. Got to see the rivals defeated. That's always a good thing. Got to meet up with the Piffles Pod guys afterwards too, and even go a little bit further into the night with a few others, including a member of the Grey Cup Fun Police. So it was a great weekend.
That's awesome.
Great Cup
And
Fun
I also
Police.
restocked my wardrobe for the rest of the year.
I bet.
I had to hit the Bomber store and the Jet store, so we're good there.
I
Yeah,
saw
there
that
you
you
go.
definitely stocked up. I saw you posted on Facebook there and in a group chat or two. And yeah, you definitely stocked up on all the Jets and Bombers gear. Hey, you're only there so often, Joe.
Well, and then you don't have to pay for shipping. So
Exactly. So I can get twice the bang for my buck if I go on a shopping spree once a year.
very true. Very true. And I mean, save yourself a little bit of money too with the conversion.
Mm-hmm.
That's also true.
That is also
I
true.
just like to think of it as you guys being extra nice to me and giving me a 20% discount on everything.
Rub it in.
That's a way to look at it. You know, that's probably what a lot of people feel about coming to Alberta without all the extra taxes. But that's for another day. Anyways, as we know, the Edmonton Elks and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are in a home-and-home series. Were you worried going into this matchup, and are you surprised at the results of the game 1 in the series?
I don't think I was worried so much. I know the Elks have been playing better. At the same time, the Bombers got out of whatever was causing them to sleepwalk through the first month of the season. It always seemed like they were playing from behind early in the season, and that's not the way Winnipeg wins games. Winnipeg wins games by going ahead early, keeping the other team down, and like slowly choking them out in the fourth quarter with Brady Oliveira. That's the way they win games. And if that's not the formula this year, they can't do it usually. So they've been sticking to that formula for the past 2 months now, going from 0-4 to 2-6, now 8-6. So they've refound the magic they've had in the past 3 years. So I can't complain, especially with the way the standings look right now.
Refound the
So
magic.
true.
I think that's a really good way to put it because you should always be worried about Winnipeg right now. It's like, once again,
Mhm.
talking about the 2016 EE Edmonton Eskimos. You always put the other team on notice. The other team was always worried about playing the Evil Empire, the EE. That's Winnipeg right now.
Yeah.
And it's not even so much Montreal. I'm still worried about a Winnipeg matchup more than Montreal. Still.
That's why I was so surprised, going into that second half of the game and having that score because I was expecting exactly what you said, that they were just going to flatten us in the first half and then kind of keep it going and then choke us out in the last quarter, right? So
they left so many points on the field in that first half. I was in about the third quarter going, this is the way they've been losing this year.
Mhm.
Let's hope things change, and they did.
No, but right now, Winnipeg is on a heater, bud. And one has to think that it will end at some point, right? As much as Winnipeg fans would like to think that this is going to happen forever, they're going to finish out the season on a streak, which it's possible, right? Reality also exists. So, do you think the the upcoming Edmonton Elks game poses a threat, or do you think the Bombers lose on a different week?
I think any team this year is a threat. There's no free space anymore. The Ottawas of the past, the Edmonton Elks of the past couple of seasons where they struggled mightily, that's a thing of the past now. Even Calgary and Hamilton at the bottom of the table right now, they can beat you on any given week. I know Calgary's had kind of taken the mantle of the team that seems to be the easiest out right now. But even then, they're not a gimme. They took Saskatchewan all the way down to the end this past the or this past week, and they still have enough talent that you can't just overlook them. So the parity in this league, beyond Montreal being where they're at, is astounding, and it's really good because it means October matters. We've had a couple of seasons doing the Rouge, White, and Blue where we're sitting there in like week 18 going, okay, what are we going to talk about for the next 3 weeks? Because the playoffs are basically set. Not the case this year.
Yep.
No, the parody. We've said this before.
I like that,
We've said
yeah.
this before on the show. No, that's
It's so
bang on.
true. On any given week, you don't know what the standings are going to be like, which
No.
makes it really exciting in a way. Stressful, but really exciting.
It also makes it hard to pick them too.
Very true. But do you think that the Bombers have a serious chance of riding the streak into the playoffs?
Yeah, or if they clinch first in the West and sit guys for the last week or two of the season like they have in the past, you kind of look at those games as okay. If they win, great. If they don't, well, we're in November where we want to be. So I'm not too worried about keeping a streak up. This team is built to play November football. They've been over the past 4 seasons in either on top or they've had a chance to win with seconds on the clock in the Grey Cup, and you can't ask for anything more.
That's very true. No, I agree. But what would you say is the main reason for the Bombers' success right now? Do you think that it's Zach Collaros? Is it the running game? Is it the defensive line? Like, what would you say is the number one reason if you had to pick, obviously, one unit or one particular reason? What would it be?
I would say, and a lot of people are saying that this team is getting old, and that's true. In football years, they're getting close to the end, I'm sure, but just the veterans on this team and the experience of this team, even the younger players that are around these players, seem to just feed off of that. They don't make mistakes. They will kill you when you make yours. At the beginning of this season, the opposite was true. Like for the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season, it felt like they were just trying to prove to everybody that, hey, look, we can be explosive. We can go take over games whatever we want to. And that was the recipe for disaster. Once they got back to playing their game, playing within themselves, they kind of were forced to become more conservative on offense because of the injuries at the wide receiver position. But once they just started playing within themselves, they've become really tough to beat again. They're hard to beat one-on-one. The coaching staff knows these players and knows how to put them in position to succeed. It's going to take a really good set of individual efforts to overcome what this team is. And this team is just solid to the core. You're going to need to play your A game and hope Winnipeg plays their C game to be able to succeed.
Yeah,
I wish we could say that.
I know. There's a lot of things there, right?
There was a lot of passion and a lot of truth in that.
But Joe also makes a great point. This is a team that was on the cusp, or I guess technically still is on the cusp of a dynasty. I mean, that would be three cups in 5 years or whatever. But it's that standard. They have set that standard now. Winnipeg is the standard of the league, and they've gotten back there. It is crazy to see them go. What was it? 0-4. Last time we talked, Joe, it was 0-4. We were on the show, and we were both saying, "What the heck is going on here?" Like, one party here is used to this and expects this, and the other party, we're talking about a team that was just in the Grey Cup the year previous. So, I think that Winnipeg has set the standard. I do think you're correct. And the veteran presence is very, very important. Even with the Edmonton Elks, you had some veterans. Now they have a lot of younger guys and a lot of rookies and a lot of guys that have come in, but where they've gained in veteran presence is at the coaching level. The Edmonton Elks now have Armando Sewell on the D line, coaching the D line. Now you have Aaron Grimes out there on the turf, doing some coaching as well, and that's exactly, or he's in some form of role, right, as well as ambassador. But that's what you need. You need people to bring your organization on the turf through year in, year out, and to be able to maintain that veteran presence, whether you're bringing guys through or you're adding some of these guys to the coaching staff or whatever. And Willie Jefferson out there, I get salty about him wearing that green and gold jersey after the games here in Edmonton. I know he has some love for Edmonton, but he's a Bomber right now. So man, if you would have loved us that much, you would have been here right now. But who knows? There's a reason why. Obviously, he's doing fantastic in Winnipeg, but I do miss Willie Jefferson a lot.
Salty.
I'm salty.
There was some sass in that comment, which was completely unnecessary and unrelated to the question.
I don't care. But that's the thing, is Willie Jefferson, he's part of that veteran core, is where I was going with that, right? So his veteran presence out there, and the D-line, we're going to talk about it, but that D-line is playing lights out once again.
Yeah, we definitely don't have the same type of experience in the team, right? We've talked about it, saying that sometimes the Elks seem like a revolving door. There's a revolving door of players, and not long enough contracts, not enough
continuity year in, year out. Even we've seen this team
game.
Yeah,
you guys have been making changes in between games a lot over the past 3-4 years, when Chris Jones was trying to reestablish or try to establish the same type of thing that's going on in Winnipeg, trying to find his core. Unfortunately, this time around he didn't, and it just didn't work out. So hopefully, and you could just see the change in the team. The week after Chris Jones was gone, there was an extra half a step in everybody. And clearly things weren't going well. The change seems to be productive. So you have a chance now. You found some players now. You've got a running back core that's fantastic right now. You do have some talent at receiver. You have talent in a lot of different places. Hopefully this is the offseason. Geroy Simon can go out on his own, make his own decisions, bring in a few more pieces that help solidify that, and hopefully the team can rally around Jarius Jackson and the rest of that coaching staff you guys have, because you can see the difference between June, July, and even now. Even in that game with Winnipeg, when the offense wasn't clicking on all cylinders, you could still see it, because you could see Rankin running hard. You could see the receivers making plays when they had the opportunities. I think Winnipeg game plan fantastic for playing against Tre Ford. They had the formula to keep Tre Ford in the pocket and make him make plays with his arm, and they were willing to give up some yards on the ground just to keep the big plays from happening. So I wouldn't get too downhearted on this past week. Clearly from the change you guys made this week to bring McLeod Bethel-Thompson back into the starting lineup, you're looking to attack Winnipeg's defense in a different way. I don't think it speaks poorly to Tre Ford yet. It just might not be. They might not quite yet have the confidence in him to be a pure pocket passer. So they're going to try a different way of attacking Winnipeg's defense, and we'll see where that gets them next week.
Yeah, and I mean, we actually have a buzzing herd chat right now about it. We have a comment here from Calvin. Is Elks announcing in advance MBT will start in rematch against the Bombers, just giving the Bombers an advantage to tailor their game plan against MBT with plenty of notice. So asking, are they like is this going to be a disadvantage now for the Edmonton Elks announcing that, or are they going to try to do a bait and switch with Tre Ford at the last second? Like, how would you?
I think there's two things going on here. One is a general trend in CFL defenses. It seems like there's a lot less blitzing going on this year. It seems like there's a lot more 3 or 4 man pass rushes and drop everybody else into coverage. That seems to be pretty standard across the league right now, and Winnipeg is doing that right now under Jordan Younger. An advantage Winnipeg has, though, is that they basically have 2 defensive coordinators. They have Jordan Younger and they have Richie Hall, who was the defensive coordinator for the past 5-6 years. Hall took a step down to be a consultant so that Younger could get the promotion and get the experience with Hall still in the building underneath that organization, so they can keep the wheels turning, so they can keep moving forward in the future. So if they really felt like they needed to have 2 defensive game plans, they had the manpower to be able to do that and go, okay, this is the game plan against MBT, this is the game plan against Tre Ford. I don't think they necessarily need to do that because their game plan was pretty much the same. 3-man rush, a couple of people being spies, whereas against MBT, maybe it's a 4-man rush and one less person sitting there watching the quarterback. But the general coverage schemes are going to be the same. I don't think there's really not a lot of blitzing this year in the CFL. Their sack numbers seem to be way down. Defenses are trying to make the quarterbacks throw into blanket coverage. And I think you're seeing that there's not a lot of eye-popping numbers out there for quarterbacks. We're not seeing anybody really stepping up and saying, I'm the MOP this year. Felt like it was happening in the first month or 2 of the season in BC, but that's changed too.
Well, on the top 3 quarterbacks right now in the league are actually all in the bottom 3 teams. So Bo Levi Mitchell over in Hamilton, MBT over in Edmonton, and Jake Mayer over in Calgary. They all are the top 3. I don't know the exact order. I think it's probably Jake Mayer at the top, or Bo Levi, because Bo Levi just had himself a good game. And the funny thing too is all of those guys were benched at some point as well. They all rode Pine this year. So
it's crazy. It's a weird season.
Well, in Winnipeg, they have a balanced team. Like Zach Claros isn't putting up record-setting numbers or anything like that, but the defense. What we noticed at this last game was it was a defensive battle.
Yes.
Especially for 3 quarters. In the 4th quarter, Tre Ford threw a SSN turning point moment interception.
And there's always something to say about the chemistry between receiver and the quarterback, right? That Claros Oliveira connection. You can't really.
Well, and then
fault that, right? Like, you know that there's going to be magic in there in some ways, and we see it sometimes. We have glimpses of that with MBT and say Gittins Jr. You know, we see some of those that they're trying to find that connection, that it's just, it's there, right? And sometimes you just can't compete with something like that.
No, it always works best when you have a lot of experience throwing to the same guys, and hopefully over the course of the next season or 2, Tre's been with the team 3 years now, but the receivers keep changing, the game plans keep changing, the offense. Hopefully, a little bit of stability will help him gain some of that confidence too, and they do very well in drawing up good plays for Tre Ford to be able to use his athleticism, and that's exactly what Winnipeg game planned against last week to shut down, because I could see that they were going read option a lot, where Tre will take the snap, he's looking at the defensive end, and defensive end's keying on me, I give it to Rankin, and Rankin had a ton of yards doing that. At the same time, Winnipeg was like, we're not going to let you beat us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
that's exactly what they did. They shut it down.
Yeah.
They shut it down.
They shut it down.
They shut it down.
But all right. I mean, we'll get more into that sadness. But switching gears a bit, the Jets, they're starting their season, which means the Winnipeg terminal is returning with yourself and Mike Dandria. How exciting is it to have hockey back?
It doesn't feel quite real yet because it's still warm out. It's still, even we dropped from 27 degrees to 20 degrees this week, but still, I haven't seen a leaf fall yet. I mean, you could take that whatever way you feel like taking that, but
Except for the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? They're always falling.
What's that meme that you just go outside and just hit the Leafs just to watch the Leafs fall?
Oh, jeez.
Because hockey wasn't back yet.
So corny. So when what is it? I started a fire just to boo the Flames. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
Here
ours
you go.
here in
We
Edmonton.
see all of those.
We see them.
Right. No, it just doesn't feel quite right yet. It's not. We haven't even had a brisk, 15-degree day yet, so it doesn't feel like hockey season's around the corner. And yet, you're sitting here reading the game reports from the preseason, going, "Okay, hope they can figure things out. Let's, when's the real stuff start? Oh, 2 weeks from now."
Well, exactly.
Crazy.
I mean, 6-0 Jets versus Oilers. I don't think you'd ever see that in the regular season. So of course,
Yeah.
must be preseason only.
Oh.
But
knock on wood, knock on wood, real hard.
But anyways, now that I'm jinxing it already, what can viewers and listeners expect from the Winnipeg terminal this year for season 2?
Oh, we're just going to get back into it. I tend to bring the bomber flavor to things. Mike's a little bit more into the hockey team, so that we kind of help balance each other out there. Although I have, taken a few more steps to paying a lot more attention to the Jets than I usually do. It used to be a casual, hey, I got nothing to do tonight. Hey, is hockey on? Great. Now it's okay. What nights are they on? What am I doing the rest of the week? Okay, can I get this one in? Yeah, no, and then it's okay. Let's read the after game reports. Let's read the in between. It just went from the casual level of okay, this is fun to okay, what else can I learn about this, and how much more can I spit back out and not sound stupid?
Oh, that's fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
Very fair.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be me in a hockey podcast. I like football primarily. That's my sport. But yourself and Oz Davis you guys have been doing fantastic at the Rouge, White, and Blue as well. Where can our viewers find your shows online?
Oh, they can find it basically where they find this one, either on the YouTube page, or they can find it. We have our own X account. We have my personal Facebook account that puts the shows out too, or they can just search Rouge, White, and Blue on any of their favorite podcatchers. So just about anywhere you can find your podcast. And if you can't find it on the one you're on, let me know, and I'll see if I can get it on there for you.
Dang, that's some service. That's some service. We'll get you the podcast wherever you listen. We'll get it for you. We'll get it on the podcatcher. Yeah, no, man. Once again, like Kathy said, you guys do fantastic over there. You guys are recording tonight, fresh episode of Rouge, White, and Blue, right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he's wondering where I am right now.
So perfect. So we're gonna let you get onward with the recording. But thank you so much for your time, Joe. I know we're gonna see you again soon, and we're definitely gonna see you on Shotgun Sports Network. So you guys have a great recording. Everybody, go check them out. Thanks a lot, Joe. Have an awesome night.
All right, you guys have a good night.
Cheers. And that was Joe Pritchard, aka our Joe. At Shotgun Sports Network.
Our Joe.
Joe Pritchard of the Rouge, White, and Blue podcast and the Winnipeg terminal. Awesome guy down there in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. The Winnipeg terminal, like we said, will be returning as well. So it's fun times. Yeah. Hockey's back. Joe's a very happy hockey fan and football fan. You're a football first girly, apparently. Yes. You're out here with the football first. Football first. That was cool. That was cool. I like that. But let's talk some Elks. Let's talk some Elks because we're the sad fans.
Also, before we move on, Calvin, John, we do see the comments on the chat. We'll bring those up during the fan forum because those tie directly to what we're talking about in the fan forum. So,
yep, we figured that we were going to be talking quarterback controversy tonight, and that is definitely going to be a topic in the fan forum. So, a couple segments away, but
yeah, we'll get there.
First off, we have a herd report. Not first off, but next in line, we have the herd report where Kathy brings you the latest Elks game recap, news, and transactions. The herd report is brought to you by the Forge podcast. Experience the latest in Birmingham sports with Ryan Messer as he gives you the latest news and updates. Find the Forge every week on Shotgun Sports Network. Like we said, Birmingham Barons just won a championship. This would be the third championship that Shotgun Sports Network Alabama has covered, and Ryan Messer is the guy putting in that work. Putting in that work.
Killing it.
Yeah, so.
All right, let's do we have to talk about this game?
We got to talk about it.
I mean, I guess it's our job.
Let's talk about it.
I mean, let's talk about this loss to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on Saturday, September 21st, with a final score of 27-14. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the first half in one go because not a whole lot happened. You know, at least not a whole lot that was good. There was a lot that happened, but just nothing was good. And listen, one could argue that it wasn't as bad as it could have been, seeing that the Edmonton Elks held Winnipeg to 3 points for the first half of the game. But that's really not the point.
The Edmonton Elks also should have been scoring on offense. And that's the problem.
That's definitely not the point. It's not that it could have been worse, it's that it was bad. You know, Tre Ford, he did not have a good game. He really didn't. And it was throughout the whole game, really. You know, it started with the Elks' first drive, where he had his first fumble of the night. And let's be thankful that for some reason, Castillo did not get the field goal on that from that fumble, because otherwise the score could have been indeed a lot worse.
Well, and that could have been insult to injury or complimentary football for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, which they still played complimentary football, and we did not.
Yes.
Well, the Edmonton Elks did not.
I mean, right after that, the responding drive was no better, with 2 incomplete passes that resulted in the first turnover on downs of the game. But that's not all. We weren't even past the first quarter when Tre Ford pass was intercepted pretty much midfield.
Yeah. Yuck.
Yuck. At least Darius Bratton got himself an interception at the end of the first quarter. So that was nice. Good for him. Definitely, you know, one of those really very few positives that we saw. Well, not very few. We did see some positives.
There was positives.
That was one of them. I'm just salty. Anyway, the second quarter started, and we see some very solid rushes by Justin Rankin, just like Joe mentioned. You know, it seems like Winnipeg's defense definitely had Tre Ford's number, and he definitely had to make that call of doing a lot of rushes. And Justin definitely performed well in this game with a lot of them. Although, you know, a little bit of play calling might have been at fault here, seeing that, you know, I don't know if it was play calling or if it was just Tre Ford reading the defense and knowing that he didn't really have anywhere to go, but it seemed like at some point Justin Rankin was going to get tired, and on the third consecutive rush he went absolutely nowhere. And this was followed by a Ford sack to add salt to the wound.
And I mean, Justin Rankin, we were worried about that. He did put up 157 yards.
Oh, he did fantastic.
So Justin Rankin did great with what he had. At the same time, you do have to get the ball through the air. When you're running your running backs that much, like Kevin Brown, he ended up fumbling the ball. So Kevin Brown fumbled the ball right near the end of the second.
Yeah.
And it's those moments when the Elks are getting momentum and they seem to be doing something. And like Tre Ford might be getting confidence in those moments, but then all of a sudden somebody fumbles, whether it's Tre Ford, whether it's Kevin Brown.
Yeah.
And that's your momentum killer. and you essentially are throwing it, like you're shoving it in Winnipeg's hands so badly.
Yeah.
That was the problem with that game, was every single time they had momentum, they found a way to give it away. And it'd be a little bit different if Tre Ford was making those throws or was making those plays, but he looked like 2022 Tre Ford.
Yeah, well, no, he was
like he was scrambling first.
He was
scrambling first.
But even then, like, and I am all for player accountability, and I do agree that a lot of the mistakes were forced just by the way that he was playing. But I also don't understand why he kept just doing those rushes and short passes on the first and second downs.
He wasn't
again, he wasn't throwing.
No, but Winnipeg's defense is also that good.
Yeah.
Winnipeg's defense is a different breed. He has not had to play a really good team yet. Everybody's talking about Tre Ford's record.
Mhm.
Save it for the fan forum. I'm gonna save this for the fan forum.
Yeah, I still have to get through the entire game here.
Yeah.
You're getting ahead of yourself here. Anyways, we already talked about that. On the following drive, we see yet again another turnover on downs. So, yes, we're still on the second quarter at this point, by the way. And yet the following drive, we see not one, but two fumbles. The first one, by Tre Ford. Thankfully, he was able to recover it himself. That was a stressful fumble, but he got it back. And the other one, just like you said, Kevin Brown fumble that was recovered by Winnipeg at that point. So that's that. Going into the third quarter, and I was doing my recap and I felt getting worked up over this, really. But funny enough, we went into that second half of the game knowing that we still had a chance to turn it around. I mean, Winnipeg only had a 3-point lead, and that's nothing, right? And after the performance that we saw from Ford during the first half, I'm not going to lie, and I think a lot of us were hoping to see MBT on the field after that second quarter, in the second half of the game. I feel like that was maybe just a hope that everybody was feeling a little bit.
Yeah, because if you're gonna try to do an in-game reset, right?
You do it's
halftime, and no other time really. This isn't in hockey. It's a little bit different because you have to make that change because this goalie clearly just isn't on tonight. In football, you restructure at your half. It's not, and sometimes you do that at the intermissions in hockey. But you can, if your goalie is off and he just let in 3 goals on 3 shots, you can't afford the next shot to allow a goal. The shot frequency, the red zone stab. If you're going to try to translate that, that would be a red zone stab.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right? A touchdown attempt. How do you even try to translate that? But where I'm going with this is, if you're going to do a reset, you're going to do it at that half.
Yes.
And in this
you make
instance,
your adjustments. You make the changes that you need to make.
Now, the thing is that Tre Ford hadn't completely cost the team the game at that point. They were letting him warm up further or try to kick the nerves or kick the whatever, right? There was obviously an adjustment at halftime that they attempted.
Okay, but let's say that we went into the second half with more than a 3-point deficit. I guess. Let's say that they had, maybe a touchdown and maybe that Castillo field goal. Maybe we were, what would be 13 points behind. Do you change your tune then and say that, yes, it was more on Tre Ford?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that maybe 17. You're looking at like a 3-score. If you're 3 scores away, you're looking at changing at halftime. I would say that would be almost instantaneous. But because you're only down by 3, you still have a chance. And you also don't want to take away the keys from Tre Ford when he's supposed to be your franchise guy. We talked about this on the Elks Call, talked about it last night on Puck and Pigskin, also talked about it on the EST Hangout.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to give this guy the keys, right? And that's what they were attempting to do in that moment until they had to take the keys away.
Yeah.
And that's when you're throwing the ball away to the other team, giving the game away.
Yep, and that's true. And I mean, we clearly did not see MBT come in. Instead, we had to see Winnipeg score a touchdown right away on their drive. But hey, at least the Elks answer right away with a touchdown off their own. A good one for Gino Lewis, good for 31 yards. So that was a really, really good one.
Elks heard on the celebration. Elks heard we were.
Oh, I hate that every time. They look for you. Those TSN guys just look for you because they know where you are.
Because they can hear me.
You're good for TV. Myself, I'm just right beside you, and it's not good. That's not.
You're always good for TV.
Anyways, let's talk about that unnecessary roughness penalty.
Leon O'Neill Jr.
in disqualification by Leon O'Neill Jr. You know, he was released most likely because of this penalty.
Yeah, he's caught. It's not just this penalty. A lot of the penalties this year have actually come from Leon O'Neill Jr. He plays very fired up. The problem with that is playing that way 100% all of the time.
Right.
Sure, you make good plays, but you also make really bad plays, and you may also make really bad decisions when you're that fired up all the time. Yep. Which Leon O'Neill Jr., he's punched multiple players this year.
Oh, yeah,
he's the guy who's been punching people. He's the guy who's been punching people.
He's the guy that's been punching. You know, and that's good.
Multiple teams have cut him for this kind of stuff.
And we're looking for accountability, right? We keep saying that. Accountability for the dumb penalties. At least now, every player knows what's at stake. They know that if they keep doing stuff like that, they keep, having these dumb penalties, that there's always a chance that they will get cut from the team. And if that is what your reputation is, who's going to pick him up after? If there's anybody that will. That's
the $1 million question. Right. He might be done in the CFL after this. There's not too many instances. And for some reason, it seems to happen to the Edmonton Elks, picking up these players that do these kind of things. Last year, it was Kyle Loxley refusing to go in. This year, who he ended up actually going to Hamilton after, and now he does not have a team.
Right.
Leon O'Neill Jr.,
we'll see.
It sucks. You hate to see somebody get released and ejected and all that, but it also sucks to see your one of your, it could be somebody's favorite player. This could be a kid's favorite player going around punching people on the field. It just, you can't do that in football. It's simply put, you just can't punch people. So it's good to see the accountability.
It's not very sportsmanlike.
It's not very sportsmanlike at all.
There you go. Not very demure. Anyways, right back to the game. Thankfully, Castillo missed another field goal. So yay.
He doinked it. Well, he did.
He did. He did.
Two doinks in one game.
He was so frustrated. You know that meme of that Indian guy that he just sits like that, all disappointed? That was Castillo, and it made me laugh. I do miss Castillo.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Great guy.
After that, the Elks' next drive, we had some of the most frustrating passes by Tre Ford that I have ever seen. I don't remember any other time that I yelled so hard for him to throw the damn ball. And I'm pretty sure I had to stop myself from strangling you because I was so frustrating. I was so frustrated that I was I wanted to strangle you because of how frustrated I was. And of course, because of that, he was sacked for a loss of 6 yards. At least Beatty had a good game. Another good game for him, and got his first field goal. And I hate that I'm relying on these at least. At least we had some good things, because that's not what it should be. We're beyond that point. We're beyond that.
It gets old. I mean, Calvin here in the herd chat, that loss to Winnipeg really brought me back down to reality and tempered my expectations for the rest of the season.
That's just it. And is that what it is? The winning streak that we went on, or just the winning games that we had?
Did we steal those games? Did we steal those wins? Did we steal those wins?
Was it just flukes? Or, that definitely makes you question a lot of things. Going into the fourth quarter, however, even after all of that, we still went into the fourth quarter with a tie, which was crazy. That's wild to me. Just based on the game that we were having, just the number of fumbles, the number of turnover on downs, just everything that was happening. It's wild that we went into the fourth with a tie. And, we even started the quarter with a Collaros sack by Derek Moncrief. But then things went from bad to worse. Even with Justin Rankin's rush for 35 yards, it meant nothing with Tre Ford's pass being intercepted. So blatantly too. Like that was thrown right into Ayer's hands.
Yeah.
Which of course they capitalized on and they got a touchdown and a field goal after that.
Yeah.
And then another touchdown.
Another touchdown. It was just after that you kind of saw the floodgates open and you knew that the game was done.
Oh yeah, it was
SSN turning point of the game.
You knew.
SSN turning point.
You knew.
You knew, and I think I even said it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the game. That's it.
That's
That's it. I think that's SSN turning point.
Well,
it's over.
And they brought MVT at that point. They brought him back into the game.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know that that's just garbage time.
Yeah.
Right? You know that, I mean, technically he still could, but really that would have to be like an amazing last 6 minutes of the game with whatever it was. And it was just a little too late. There's only so much one can do with garbage time. I think I'm pretty much even said that they should have brought Daggy in just to let him play a little bit.
And then I said Prukop because Daggy's on the practice roster right now.
But
yeah, Prukop, some like at least give Prukop a couple snaps. But I think they were trying to salvage the game at that moment when they put MBT in. But the problem is that the game was already lost. The momentum was already lost. They already handed it away for good at that point. The damage was done. The damage was done to the Edmonton Elks. And you hate witnessing those moments. It's just like, 6 years ago, the punt that flew through the air against Saskatchewan. You weren't, I don't think you were there for that. No, I'm talking Hugh O'Neill punted the ball. Ball just like comes flying back. And over in Section X, you watch the punt get blocked and it bounces back towards the Elks end zone. Eskimos end zone at the time, and you're just like, no. It's like one of those things that happens in slow motion, and you're like, oh, game's done. That was that Tre Ford interception.
Yeah.
Game's done.
I mean, at least MBT did have a long drive right towards the end, and it got us close enough for Beatty to get his second field goal of the game, and then a Rouge at the kickoff to pretty much end the game.
Oh, so that was Boris Beatty with the Rouge.
Beatty with the Rouge.
That was Beatty with the Rouge on the kickoff.
Yep.
Boris Beatty, Boris Beatty had himself a game. He was one of the top performers.
Yeah.
One of the top performers. He was.
Yes, he really was. So that just tells you about this game.
But the Edmonton Elks losing to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
I still don't like that. It sounds like cheering. It's supposed to be a boo. Anyways, let's talk. I mean, obviously, bad things happened. As head coach Jarius Jackson said, you're not going to win many football games if you turn the football over 6 times.
Yep.
Simple as that. And just like we've talked about before, ball security, dumb penalties.
Yeah.
Doesn't this sound like the beginning of the season? We had all of those right at the beginning, that we had such a bad losing streak and we kept having these things happen.
But the offense has never looked this bad all season. That's the difference. The offense has never looked this bad all season long.
No.
There was one bad MBT game where he had a hard time getting going. Who was it? And they lost to Montreal. They still played a good game. The offense was still doing their thing. They weren't turning over the ball massively or anything like that.
No.
This is the worst offensive game of the season for the Edmonton Elks. And you sure hope that this is rock bottom for this offense.
I really hope so. Because things need to change. I mean, there's good pieces, as we talked about. Justin Rankin, 157 yards on 14 carries.
That's not bad. That's actually really good.
Very good. And then, of course, Gina Lewis.
Yeah.
You know, and his efforts even go beyond great touchdowns, because he also held the Elks Kids Club camp the next morning, and it was fantastic. So thank you for all his grassroots efforts. Those are really good.
Well, the kids love it. The kids everywhere love that. And it is one of those things that the Edmonton Elks, we applauded them last year for doing it. It doubled this year, I think, for attendance. So Jace, friend of the show, friend of the herd, Jace was there with his
Yes.
parents. And I believe their daughter is also going to be Whitney and Ryan's daughter, Julia.
Julia. Yep.
Yeah, so she's going to be doing the flag football camp coming up as well. They do have a
Aiden
kids.
is going to be doing it too.
Yep.
So that's, yes. I mean, there's definitely a lot of good. The defense, as you've talked about, definitely good.
Yeah, the defense is good. Purifoy, he had himself a pretty decent game. There were still pieces that were good in this game, but overall the offense failed the other two phases. Special teams did their job just in a general sense. Special teams, defense, but offense failed the other phases.
Yeah.
And it far from complimentary. Yeah.
But hey, coming up, we did see some transactions. We have on September 12th, we had whole bunch of transactions.
We haven't had a show since September.
I know.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, no, it's been a couple of weeks.
Anyways, been a
while. On September 12th, we had national linebacker Woodley Apollon that was released. But on September 14th, there were a whole bunch of players that were added to the practice roster. American defensive lineman AC Leonard.
Welcome back to the herd.
That's a big one.
AC Leonard. It's so cool having AC Leonard back.
Yeah. I wonder how much of a pay cut he got. But I am just salty.
You are saucing it today. Anyways. What is going on with you on the Elks? I have never heard you so saucy. Confidently saucy.
Because of that stupid game. Anyways, American defensive back Miles Brooks has been added to the practice roster. American wide receiver Dante Demas Jr. National kicker Campbell Fair. American defensive lineman John McCartan. And American defensive lineman Eric Miller. And of course, on September 23rd, we saw American defensive back Leon O'Neal Jr. being released.
Peace out.
Yeah.
Can't punch people.
No. Injuries. We do have quite a few players that are out for Friday's game. Darius Bratton is out with a knee injury. Gavin Cobb out with a thigh injury. Tanner Green out with an ankle injury. Phil Grahovac out with a chest injury. Thomas Jack Cordelia out with a knee injury. Javen Leake still out with a thigh injury, and Romeo McKnight out with an ankle.
So the injury bug is getting to the Edmonton Elks. I mean, Javon Leake, it really sucks to see Javon Leake out. Darn shame, because Javon Leake is a weapon for us. But I did hear that fantastic. I think it's something like a thigh bruise or something like that. Yeah. So Javon Leake is that's a big loss. Phil Grovac, he's been having a good year. That's a big loss. T-Jack still injured. That's a big loss. Tanner Green, fullback, still out. That's still a big loss. Gavin Cobb, that takes away your wide receiver depth. That sucks. And are these officially out?
Yeah,
these are officially out.
They're out.
Oh, because yes, the injury report did come out today because it's the final day of practice. Tomorrow's walkthrough and then Friday's game. Correct.
Yep, they're out.
So wild. Darius Bratton, that really sucks because Darius Bratton has been playing well lately. So the Edmonton Elks are injured going into Winnipeg, a very, very loud building on Friday, September 27th at 6 p.m. Edmonton at Winnipeg. Elks at Bombers.
What do you got?
Princess Auto Stadium. 10-17. Winnipeg Blue Bombers win. I think we'll do better. I don't know how much faith I have in the offense right now. Whether it's MBT or Tre Ford. And I want MBT to prove me wrong. I've done this prediction before and they did prove me wrong. I've done a prediction like this before. But I do think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are gonna put on. Simply put, sucks, and I hope the Blue Bombers don't win. What would be the key?
So too.
Well, what would be the keys to the game? The keys to the game here. offense, getting the ball through the air. Because do you think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to allow that kind of rushing game again?
No.
Right? Rushing game kept us in the game.
No. So, no penalties. That'd be good.
Yeah,
No turnovers. That'd be good. Ball security in general.
Ball security.
Keep the ball in your hands.
Well, and I believe I want to say that the amount of turnovers that came off of Tre Ford's hands was like something like 3 or 4, right?
We had three.
3. So there you go. So
that's half of them.
That's still half of them. It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting. I really hope that MBT can get the ball up the field a heck of a lot better than Tre Ford did.
I hope so. But we'll come back to that particular topic in our fan forum. We do have some news. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the Momentum custom shoes.
Oh, yes. So this is really cool. Elks heard, not exclusive, but I guess, yeah, it kind of is. Exclusive combo anyways. We kind of talked about this on Puck and Pigskin yesterday, and people haven't really talked about it too much, so we're going to bring it to light here. There is an alternate EE logo out here, and we haven't seen it for the last 2 years. Kind of like a hidden logo with the Edmonton Elks. Now this logo has popped up recently thanks to a really cool pair of shoes commissioned by Larry Thompson for the Stollery, or commissioned by the Stollery for Larry Thompson. I think it's commissioned by Larry Thompson for the Stollery. So the proceeds went to the Stollery. Very cool, the Stollery Children's Hospital. But these are the Larry Thompson shoes, which are really cool. Friend of the herd, Sinjin Sperling, does custom shoes with his company, Momentum Customs. So these are really, really sweet kicks. If you look at the back of them, you can actually see the TFF and with Thompson on the top. So that's Thompson Family Foundation. And then, of course, you have the number 24s there as well in that classic gold, but with the outline from the jersey here. Cool. The icon jersey, as it's known. So they're very, very cool. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because they do contain that logo, that modern EE in the oval. So, I mean, this is the old school one. But if you actually, can we show it just one more time on the stream? So this oval EE logo here is something that we haven't seen since Victor Cui leaked it on a helmet. And he had it in like 2002 variety. So it had like the white EE. This is like kind of like what they were using between Elks and Eskimos. So the Edmonton Football Club.
Right.
It's kind of like that logo, except those are the Edmonton Elks EE. So really cool. I think that that's something that people should remember and keep an eye out on, because we may see that logo elsewhere. But the best part about these shoes, obviously, is that these shoes went to an awesome cause, or the money went to an awesome cause. Whenever they're going to be selling these, they may be selling these, or these may be just for Larry Thompson himself. Either way, funds went to the Stollery for these shoes. So
pretty cool.
Or will be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next up, we have the Edmonton Sports Update. Today's Edmonton Sports Update is brought to you by Herdy's. When it gets chilly, we got chili. The 2024 annual Chili Cook-Off will be happening on October 5th down in Lot B at Commonwealth Stadium before the Saskatchewan Roughriders versus Edmonton Elks game. Everybody is encouraged to check out the details on the Elks Herd socials. Herdy's, we smoke the meats. Your Edmonton Elks are currently 5-9. With a trip to Princess Auto Stadium to face the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the tiebreaker on the line after suffering defeat on Saturday. Catch the Elks in action on Friday night at 6 p.m. Mountain. The U of A Golden Bears are off to a rocky start to the season, holding a 2-2 record heading into Friday's game in Saskatchewan. They're taking on the U of S Huskies in Saskatoon. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. Mountain. The Edmonton Oilers continue their preseason campaign on Saturday against the Seattle Kraken. Catch the game at Rogers Place. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. Mountain. The Edmonton Oil Kings start their regular season this weekend against the Calgary Hitmen this Saturday at Rogers Place. Puck drop is at 2 p.m. Mountain. In BCHL action, the Sherwood Park Crusaders are in full swing at Randy Rosen Rink, facing the Salmon Arm Silverbacks on Friday and then the Trail Smoke Eaters on Saturday. Both games are at 7 p.m. Mountain. Sherwood Park Crusaders are always looking for volunteers for game day. Contact Len Nunes or Derek Yeomans at the Sherwood Park Crusaders to join the crew, or visit their website directly at spcrusaders.com. And for more on the Edmonton sports scene, check out our weekly sports articles on shotgunsportsnetwork.ca and our other great shows on the network on our YouTube, which is Shotgun Sports Network. We're the Elks Herd. You're up to date. And then we have our affiliates here. We got to give a shout out to the affiliates that help keep this show running. By shopping with Shotgun, you help this network run and grow. So we thank you for supporting us. Royal Retros, though. Royal Retros just came out with a massive announcement today. They are partnering with the CFLPA. The CFLPA. The Players Association. If you want exclusive gear for the CFLPA, you're going to go to royalretros.com. I think they actually, if we could see that too, that would be awesome. For those obviously listening, there's a nice CFLPA too on the screen. But use code Shotgun Sports, all caps, no spaces, for 10% off over at royalretros.com. They're the Throwback Kings. They're getting more gear. They're a great company, and we love Royal Retros. CFLPA accidentally retweeted our discount code today.
Accidentally.
They
deleted it immediately.
Yes, they recognize that that's not their discount code, but still cool. Shotgun Sports, all caps, no spaces, 10% off. Fanatics, hit the link. Shop online with Shotgun Sports Network in Fanatics. Check it out in the description below. And then Lather Canadian handmade soap. We got to put in an order, actually. We got to put in a lather order. The lather without the E. You want some of that deodorant after that deodorant ended up lasting like 2.5, 3 months, right?
Yeah, if there's one that, no, you know what? I don't care if I smell like man.
There you go. Lather for all people. Rustic pumpkin. They also, what is it? Punko Jack, I think, is the other holiday Halloween flavor. So if you want to smell like a basic,
don't eat it. It's not flavor. Smell.
Flavor. Well, hey, yeah, sure. I guess scent, right? Scent is the technical term. I might try to eat it anyways. But you're gonna use code Shotgun Sports 20, all caps, no spaces. Save 20% over at lather.com with the Elks Call. Shotgun Sports 20, all caps, no spaces, over at Lather. And lastly, we do have some sponsorship spots open. So if you'd like to grow with Shotgun Sports Network and get your brand noticed, please send us an email over to admin@shotgunsportsnetwork.ca. Let us know. Let us know, because viewership is on the rise all the time. All right. Biggest segment. We have a lot to talk about here. This is the best fan chat, Edmonton Elks fan chat in town. It is called the Fan Forum. We're going to open it up. In this segment, we talk about hot topics surrounding the Edmonton Elks and the CFL as a whole. Blow up the herd chat so we can get your comments on to the show. Today's Fan Forum is brought to you by the Rouge, White, and Blue podcast. Americans talking Canadian football. Oz and Joe can now be seen on Shotgun Sports Network, bringing their audibles to your screens. Everyone's favorite point, white and blue. And especially like Boris Beatty, that was a good Rouge to finish off the game. You know, Shout out to that, Rouge. Also, shout out to the Rouge, White, and Blue. They're going to have an episode up tomorrow morning. So if you want to check out what all the hype is about with Rouge, White, and Blue, Americans Talking Football, head on over. Shotgun Sports Network tomorrow morning. But let's talk about this because we have a very, very big quarterback controversy here in Edmonton. The Edmonton Elks have indicated that Tre Ford will be back up to MBT for the Friday Night Lights in Winnipeg. Tre Ford didn't have the best game on Saturday. So we need to know. And fans in the Herd chat, please drop your comments in there. We know we have some already. But if you are the head coach, are you starting MBT or Tre Ford for Friday's game? If this is your choice, what are you doing? Catherine, what are you doing?
I don't know. I mean, when you told me that MBT was starting, I was like, yes, I support that decision. But at the same time, I feel like if that had been the decision, it should have been made last game, not this game, right? We talked about it a lot, saying that you ride the hot hand. What's to say that now that hot hand is not hot anymore with MBT coming in after that loss? Right, so are we now putting MBT in a very uncomfortable situation in which he will not perform as well? Should we continue to give Tre Ford the benefit of the doubt that he had one bad game and it was just the one game that was bad and see if he could turn it around? So it's difficult to say. I really don't know what the right decision is. I'm glad I'm not a head coach because I really don't know what is the best decision.
If you're Jerry's Jackson, though, what are you doing? If you're Jerry's Jackson, you got to answer the question. If you're Jerry's Jackson, what are you doing?
But I'm not.
Like game day, baby, Tre all the way in the Herd chat. He's saying Tre all the way.
I think I would go with MBT.
You're going MBT.
I think I would go with MBT. I feel like I don't know. I feel like Tre still displays a lot of signs of immaturity as a player. Right, and we've seen it before. We've seen it with Jerry Jackson's interview, the one that you showed me, where he talked about Tre Ford and his conduct as a player and as a team member.
Well, so for the people that haven't seen that interview, there is one of the most recent media interviews from yesterday, specifically. Jerry Jackson alluded to. He didn't directly say, but he alluded to. In the way he kind of said, as a backup quarterback, you grow even more. You grow bigger. You grow better. You do those smaller things, and you learn when to not leave the facility early, and this and that. And I encourage everybody to go listen to it. Please do not take my horribly Coles notes noted version of this. But
no, and this is opinions, right? This is opinion based. But listening to something like that just makes you wonder, right? If there's still a little bit more development that needs to happen. And the one thing that I do believe, especially at this point with the team and where they're at in the season, is that you are going to play the quarterback that has the greater chances to bring you a win.
Yeah.
We don't know with Tre Ford if that's him yet. We really don't.
Well, and so the thing is, with this, it's a double-edged sword because the Edmonton Elks clearly are going for the season. They're clearly going for the wins this season, which you're not wrong. You're not wrong, right? If you're looking at the season, you want to rescue it. You want to get the wins. They are still going for Grey Cup right now, which that's not a bad idea. But it's also very short-sighted because this franchise, like we've said multiple times, this franchise, if you're trying to get Tre Ford to be your franchise player, your face for the organization, you have to hand over the keys at some point. So you need to at some point, if you really want this guy to stick around. I think that this does put Tre Ford at risk of leaving at the end of the season. I think this one move here, and this is why long ago I stated two or 3 weeks ago, I stated that they're taking the heat out of the hot hand. You're taking the steam out of the hot hand by moving MBT out into QB2 moving Tre Ford in at QB1 at that time when MBT is still playing good. But now that Tre Ford is in, and if you really want him to be your starting quarterback game 1 next year, 2025, you need to stick with him through the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And the organization had an opportunity to do that right now.
Yeah.
And they chose to go for the season. They did not choose to go for the next 3 years, which if you're in a sports organization, you have a 3 or a 5 year plan. What do you want to do with this team within this window? That's why Chris Jones was on a 3 or 4 year contract. What was it? 3 year? 3 year contract. So Chris Jones is on a 3 year contract. Goes to show.
Pretty sure. Anyways, don't quote me.
Right. I think there might have been, I don't know, right? Could have been a 4th year option, whatever. But
yeah,
where I'm going with this is that's your window. That's your window. Usually it's a 3 year window to do something. Otherwise, we got to start over again. If your rebuild in the CFL doesn't take off within 3 years, it's time to start over again. It's time to do something new. That's with head coaches. That's with GMs. It's in a lot of scenarios, right? So they had the opportunity to stick with Ford. They had an opportunity. And now it does put Ford in Edmonton 2025 in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I would say that Tre Ford should be starting, but you give him a way tighter leash. And credit to Matty Iwanek over at EST for saying basically the same thing. You have to show him that you have faith in him in order for him to do his thing, right?
But then also have that accountability part of it, right? That if you're not performing by this point, that we're going to switch you out.
Well, let's say 2 more quarters.
Yeah.
Let's say Tre Ford would get 2 more quarters. If I were Jarius Jackson, Tre Ford gets 2 more quarters, and then it's time that you have to move on from the Tre Ford project, at least until MBT is no longer hot. But now they've done the damage. Now you've done the change. You've already done the change once that you shouldn't have. And this team all season long has not changed them out at proper points.
No.
Like I said, Tre Ford at home, Hamilton here. Should have played that game here against Hamilton. He should have started that one and we would have won it because he likes playing against Hamilton. I knew that. I called that one. And then with this last one changing out from MBT to Tre Ford before the bye week, and especially that announcement coming early and not leaving any mystery there. The other team, Winnipeg, had a lot of time to look at their film and do their research and whatever else, do their scouting, right? This is mismanagement, I will say. It is mismanagement.
But it's hard. It's hard to say. I mean, we're not head coaches for a reason, right? And there's a lot of, that's why I said that I'm glad that I'm not a head coach, because there's a lot to say for each point of view, right? You have, I mean, let's go back.
Yeah, let's go into the herd chat because we got a lot of comments that we want to bring up.
Here, John, he says, I never thought I would disagree with Catherine, but Ford is a fan favorite and he does prove himself on the field, but not in the coach's eyes. I don't care for MBT much. Now, that's what I said about that is that I agree that Ford could have had himself a bad game, that it was just the one game. But you're not entirely too sure because, I mean, how many games have we seen Ford truly play for the entire game and see if he will perform or not? I mean, for the opportunity that he has had in the past, which haven't been very many, he has performed. And now he had the opportunity to really, truly show whether he had it in him against a real contender. I'm not saying that the other ones are not, but I'm just saying, a team that truly proves to be a contender, and he completely fumbled that.
Yeah.
Quite literally, right? So I'm not saying that he's not a good choice. I'm saying that we don't necessarily know well enough to risk the entire season based on what we have seen from Tre Ford yet.
Well, this JJack decision that's a season decision.
Of course,
that's a season
decision. And that's kind of what I'm going, because I know where we're at in the season. Yeah. I definitely do think that, like Calvin here says, Jarius Jackson wants to keep his job and try to make playoffs, so he will ride the MBT Right, essentially. Elks organization should want to ride for the rest of the season to see if you give him a starter quarterback contract next year, just like you said.
Well, and that's the point that I'm trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with them putting MBT on the bench when he was playing well.
Yeah, and
He was playing well, right? So now that you've done that, you're stuck with Ford. You have to show your faith. I did see Game Day Baby in the herd chat way up here. The game was tied when he was pulled. What did MBT do? Nothing. And MBT didn't do anything with the exact same defense. I noticed that a bunch of people jumped off when I gave my game prediction. But I hate to be honest about this. I don't know if MBT is going to do a ton better. I really hope he does, and I really hope he proves me wrong. But I have to be a realist. Facebook user, we have hit anonymity. This is beautiful. I don't think you can start Ford right now. The other guy just threw for 500 yards and was on a winning streak. They should have started Tre last week.
Or maybe MBT this week. But yes, it's like, and that's what I said, right?
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
sorry, should have started MBT.
Yeah, I think that's what it meant, right? And that's exactly what we said. That he was riding hot. He was on the hot train. He should have been started. Now, it's a different situation. And it could go either way. We really don't know how that's going to go because MBT could completely fumble it himself because he's no longer in the hot train. He's no longer
and his confidence. You've damaged his confidence, and we've talked about this a lot, especially this season on the Elks Call, right? Why did I want to see MBT pulled at Game 6, benched at after Game 6? Well, it's because I didn't want to see the guy demoralized even more when those losses weren't on him. Those losses weren't specifically on him. It was the critical nature. It's a 3-phase game.
Mm-hmm.
All the cliche stuff. It takes all 3 phases. But MBT has not been the sole problem, maybe outside of one game, all season long.
And we're also paying him for it.
He's also paid
heavily
to be the starter.
And it's hard to say, right? Maybe they're playing that game now, just like we said, but the other way around, that we said that they should have started Ford and told him that if he's going to mess it up, then switches are going to be made. Maybe they're going to be doing that this time. It's MBT. If you mess up, Ford goes in. But then again, there's no consistency. Like you've said, a lot of those changes have not happened at the right times. Now you're just experimenting to see what works and what doesn't.
Well, I'll go ahead and defend J-Jack on this. I have never seen accountability at this level with this team.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you're cutting a Leon O'Neal Jr. despite playing decently with Chris Jones, I don't think he would ever get cut. Right?
Yeah.
And seriously, I don't think he would ever get cut with Chris Jones.
Right.
So J-Jack cutting a guy and G-Roy cutting a guy, probably joint decision there. J-Jack probably didn't care to have him on the team anymore. Get him out of here right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's great, but also benching Ford after presumably not making the right read on a play, trying to do a cute play overhand, over the head, trying to do a design, and that was a design play. But the problem is that you still have to make a read. You can't just go ahead and do it and expect it to go off well when you have 2 eyes and you have to make the read. And I think Tre Ford was kind of trying to get away with that and not giving it that extra half a second or giving it that extra space or extra time or letting the wide receiver or whoever it was in that scenario try to maybe make it work.
Right.
Try to make it less of a 90-10 ball or 95-5 ball for the other team.
We saw it a couple of times, though. Even one of the throws to Gino, he had double coverage on him.
That was the touchdown.
That was after.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure this was before that he had double coverage. He was not going to go anywhere with that, and he did not go anywhere with that.
But even on that Gino touchdown, Gino came back for it, had to come back for the ball, and he had 2 guys hot on his trail. So, Tre Ford, I do think that he has to do better. It's just that he's supposed to be the franchise guy for this team. He's supposed to be the franchise face. He's supposed to be the franchise player for the Double E. And we're not seeing that treatment. Puck and Bigskin here in the herd chat. What's up, Jason? Hey, guys, should be Tre Ford all the way. There you go. So agreeing with me here on this.
And well, on that, I know that John did make a mention over here, and he says Ford Leafs fans, Ford
If Ford Leafs
fans.
fans are going to be happy and the rebuild continues for another year.
Well, and that's another thing, right, about the Ford train here is that a lot of fans really, really would be disappointed if that doesn't go anywhere.
Well, I also like Ken's comment here as well. Game day, baby. You have to put a lot on the play calling last game. Coach needs to help the quarterback when they're rusty. Well, and they were running the ball, but also I like what Ken said there because the play calling does matter. So dig into some other areas of the playbook. Do some more flats. Throws to the flats.
Was it in this game that we saw the trick play? Yes, it was.
Yeah, the flea flicker.
The one random, trick play that worked, but then it didn't really get anywhere.
But
yeah.
Let's see a
little bit more of that, a little bit more, change it up a little bit.
But also there was zero throw. I think
there was barely.
There was no throws to the flats. So we've seen games where it's all throws to the flats. Looking back at that, it's probably because the defensive coverage was so good that's all you got. Yeah. That's all you have is throws to the flats.
Like
but at
Joe
least
mentioned, they were kind of choking them to the point,
yes.
or choking Tre Ford to the point that he had to make those plays.
But Tre Ford was also scrambling out of the pocket a bunch too. And that's I think part of the problem as well. Like I said, it looked like vintage Tre Ford out there, grabbing the ball and scrambling out of the pocket and not being truly comfortable in the pocket. I don't think he looked comfortable in the pocket.
No,
he didn't play. He didn't play comfortably in the pocket.
I go, when I'm on the verge of strangling you, yelling, throw the damn ball.
Yeah. Look at not one screen play or flat. Yes. So there you go. Reinforcing that. Also, no sweep plays. Barely any sweep plays. Where were the sweep plays?
Yeah. It was just a bad.
It was a pretty one-dimensional playbook. I will agree with that.
And that was my point for MBT. Although, again, I will mention, for the sake of all of this, that I'm just glad I'm not a head coach and I don't have to make that decision, because I'm just as lost and I don't know what is the right decision. But once again, we just can't. We haven't seen enough of Tre Ford to really have a good, objective decision on his plays.
Totally.
On whether he's a good quarterback or not. From what we have seen, which is very, very few and random, he can be an amazing quarterback. But he had the chance to do that against a real contender and nothing happened. Could have been a one-off. Could have been just a bad day. A bad day for Tre Ford. Everybody has those. But do you risk it? Do you risk the same thing happening again?
Well, and look at how accountable J-Jack held Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown got benched as soon as that fumble happened. As soon as we were cursing ball security, Kevin Brown was off the field. So there are a couple players that have a very tight leash, right? It's good that they're holding people accountable. Sometimes the timing is off. Here we go in the herd chat. To be fair, hard to defend against Claros and Oliveira. Well, Claros is actually a lot easier to defend against than Oliveira. Oliveira drags people down the field. And unfortunately, there's nothing any team can do about that. It just depends on any given day. Facebook user here. Can't wait till Friday. It's going to be a closer game than this past Saturday. It's a good move to have Ford as a backup for the game this Friday in Winnipeg. I agree. And just like Jarius Jackson said, this is an opportunity for Tre Ford to learn. Calvin, I believe, in the herd chat had a comment way up here.
I do want to bring that up because that is a very interesting question. Do you think the Elks may have changed their mind on Ford, with Vernon Adams being a possibility next year?
That is a very good question, especially when you view Tre Ford as a wild card, which right now the Edmonton Elks are. You do not know what Tre Ford you're going to get in 2025. So far, we've seen Tre Ford injured for at least once every year he's been in Edmonton. Vernon Adams seems to pick up injuries because he does have a somewhat similar play style.
Right.
Vernon Adams Jr. also isn't getting any younger. Tre Ford would be, in theory.
He's the new hot thing.
Well, Tre Ford would be the next Vernon Adams Jr. if you wanted to try to make a comparison right now in the CFL. Somebody that's good with an arm, somebody that can run, somebody that can make the reads. But Tre Ford, I think, has proven that, sometimes he does struggle with making those reads, which it will come with time. It comes with studying, it comes with practice, it comes with work.
I think he needs more development. I think he still needs more development.
Yeah, well, simply put. And this time, behind MBT is doing nothing but good for his development, as long as he is soaking it in like a sponge.
Yeah.
So getting back to Calvin's question, does Tre Ford moving on / Vernon Adams Jr. being available next year, do those two coincide for the Edmonton Elks in 2025? Very good question. Kathy, how would you like to answer that?
I think if that decision happens, it's going to be Tre Ford's decision.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the season, if we end up signing Vernon Adams, is because Tre Ford decided to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think so. Working that in with the question, the Elks have decided to go season, knowing that Tre Ford isn't the only option next year.
But they're also
like that. Is that a way to perceive that?
I feel like they're still giving him opportunities, right? There's still like, how many times, and you've said this before with Nathan Rourke and Mike Riley, how many times are you going to get the chance to go and study and learn from a veteran, from somebody that can teach you everything that you need to know to be a next level quarterback? You don't get those kinds of opportunities very often. He's being given the opportunity to develop to the point that he can be a next level quarterback.
Yeah.
Now it's a matter of ego. Now it's a matter of willingness to learn. And now it's a matter of understanding that perhaps what it takes is taking a little step back and being that backup, but still having opportunities out there.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't. I think the team is doing the right thing. They're providing everything that they can for Ford to develop and become more than he is. And it's just up to him whether he wants to take those lessons or decide that he's not going to, and he's beyond that and he can be better somewhere else.
Yeah, and I do think that with Hamilton having Bo Levi Mitchell most likely wanting to move on, Bo Levi Mitchell, he might stay in Hamilton for a year or two, but he has a broadcasting career up ahead of him if that's what he chooses to do. Hamilton needs the next best thing, and Tre Ford and Hamilton, that's a dream come true. That's a Nathan Rourke in BC scenario. So I think if you're the Edmonton Elks, looking at this in a season point of view, trying to still go for Grey Cup here, especially when Vernon Adams Jr. is technically available next season, or maybe available. Let's say maybe available. Yeah, I mean, really.
Yeah.
And if you can maintain MBT, if you can retain MBT, if you can retain MBT and also have Vernon Adams Jr. in the mix, which now, okay,
yeah,
that's a lot of salary. That's a lot of salary. That won't
we're not
happen.
gonna do that.
But Daggy, what if you move Daggy up? What if you move Prukop up? Right? You could have Daggy at QB2 to, let's say, MBT. MBT's already here. If the Edmonton Elks can indeed go on a little bit of a run here to finish the season, try to make it into the playoffs, right? This is the theory that I'm working out here. The hypothetical is what happens if Tre Ford decides to walk. And that's a very real possibility.
It is.
Tre Ford could walk without the Edmonton Elks getting anything. And if you're the organization, and if you also have indicators, if you believe that you aren't going to be able to retain this guy, and also if you're not 100% committed as an organization, if there's some form of disconnect there, then maybe you are looking at Vernon Adams Jr. next year.
Yeah.
And that's, Calvin, fantastic question. It says here, I think Jones went into this year that the rebuild is over and Elks were going to be competitive and make the playoffs. With that mindset, there's no chance for Ford to develop. But there still was room for Ford to develop, and there still is room for Ford to develop. I think it's going at a better pace now.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to suffer in order to do better. Sometimes you have to
Mhm.
go down to go up. That's just
Yeah.
a weird theory in life, and for whatever reason, I think we've all gone through it. But in this case, right, Tre Ford does need to sit on the bench. He does need to feel some sort of pain at quarterback to not want to be back on that bench.
Yeah.
Do better next time. The failure drives success.
Mhm. But now, are they going to give him that opportunity though?
If
And that's the
but if
question.
MBT fizzles out,
Yeah.
Tre Ford is in. If MBT fails this next game, Tre Ford's
Mhm.
in. It's just like goalies and riding the hot hand. You know,
Yeah.
goalie loses 2 or 3 games in a
Yeah,
row.
yeah.
Boom, we're gonna jam in the other goalie, right?
Yeah. Is that a common thing?
In hockey,
No, in football, in the CFL.
in the CFL, it happens.
Yeah.
It's happened multiple times this year
Yeah.
to multiple other teams.
Yeah.
Like we said, the top 3 quarterbacks right now
Yeah, they're
have all been benched at some point and have been backups at some point.
as I said already this episode, what a weird season. And
Yeah,
it's been a really weird and let's say, as John asks here, he does go somewhere else and he becomes way better. What will everybody think? All the Elks fans think.
I mean, if he goes elsewhere and becomes way better, I mean, Elks fans are going to look at it the same way we look at Simone Lawrence, the same way we look at maybe, I don't know, what other great player? Oh, Matthew Betts, letting him walk. Any great player that you've let walk,
It'll
and
be
they go do
sad,
better
but the
elsewhere.
reality is that sometimes it's about team chemistry, it's about coach chemistry, is about sometimes some players just don't work out and they have a better chance elsewhere. And if everybody's a fan of Tre Ford and his development and what he has done, they'll be happy that he's going somewhere, that he was actually able to develop those skills and become better than he is. So I don't think that they should be necessarily mad. It's going to be disappointing, of course, because we lost a fantastic player. But then what can you do? Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. We'll leave this question with this last one here. MBT is also getting up there in age, so I think Tre Ford is a long
How
term
old
solution.
is MBT?
34 or 36.
Ancient.
34. I think he's 34. I think he's 34.
He's ancient.
He's still got a couple of years of football left in him, though. At least, like we said, Tom Brady went to
It
what,
makes me feel
41 or something?
so bad.
All
I feel
right.
so bad about my own age.
Yeah, stop it. Stop it. Both of us. That makes both of us, and
we're ancient.
yeah, I would be an aging quarterback in the league right now. Okay, let's move on to our last question here in the fan forum. A big shout out to Puckett Pigskin earlier said it before us. Smash the like, subscribe, the thumbs up, the follow, all of that stuff while we're here. We greatly appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. We've had quite a few viewers swinging in on the show, so we salute you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we're not done yet. We still got one more question here. Bit of a longer show tonight, but we're having some fun. So, yeah, once again, guys, thanks for having fun with us. All right, and gals, everyone.
Yes.
Before this series with Winnipeg, the Edmonton Elks were considered to be contenders for the Grey Cup. It was around 16% or something to win the Grey Cup. 11%, somewhere around there. It was 16. I think it was 16. The Bombers have found a way to bring the Elks back down to earth, much like Calvin said earlier in the herd chat. Is this team still a contender? And if not, what are the realistic expectations of this team for the rest of 2024? Catherine, what do you got? Herd chat, you too.
I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't think they're a contender anymore. However, I think that they can still play to the best of their ability and to find that core that we're missing. If for the rest of the season we can find that core and solidify the pieces that are not working properly, tighten up that offense, work with the really great defense that we have, find the team that you know is going to work, the next year is going to be a completely different season.
Yeah, yeah.
I think those are the realistic expectations part of this
But
question.
what do you think? Is it playoffs? Is it playoffs round 2? Where do you think the Edmonton Elks land with the rest of this season? Rest of 2024?
I don't know. It's
Obviously,
hard to say. It's so hard to say. We already talked about this. It's so hard to say. Any given week, anything could happen right now.
Sure.
So it's super hard to say. I don't like to make predictions. So what would you say?
Realistically, if you're an Edmonton Elks fan right now, you look at the standings, you look at the rest of the schedule. If you are an Elks fan, this team has already gotten past your expectations. We got 5 wins on the season now. But realistically,
we keep going up every year, so that's good.
But you want to be 500. The Edmonton Elks basically got to win their way out now, right? That's what we're talking about now. So the Edmonton Elks, they got 4 more games left. You got Winnipeg, you got Saskatchewan, you got Calgary, and you got Toronto. You got 4 more games left. Realistically, you want to win 3 out of 4. The Edmonton Elks should be able to win 3 out of those 4 games. But after that last Winnipeg game, a realistic expectation, I don't even know if you can say crossover.
Yeah.
Like is it 3rd in the West? Realistic expectation, this team at most makes it to 3rd. At most. At most.
Yeah.
Don't be looking at a home playoff game anymore. If you're an Edmonton Elks fan, believing that this team will make it to a home playoff game is only hurting yourself.
Which is okay by me because it's the same night as the UFC night.
The home playoff game?
I believe that's what John said the last game, that if there's a home playoff game, it would have been that same night. So there you go. But let's take a look to see what some of the people here in the chat are saying. Calvin, he says, I'm hoping Elks make the playoffs, but I don't see them as a contender anymore.
There you go.
We all agree. Pug and Pigskin.
As discussed on Puck and Pigskin last night, picked the Elks to squeak into the playoffs, but lose to the Bombers in the West Final. And that's 3rd in the West. Now, whatever happens in the playoffs happens, and I think that the Edmonton Elks have enough players with pedigree to make it up there. I don't think they're making it to the Grey Cup. Anonymous here. I think they're going to make it to the playoffs, make it to the West Final in Winnipeg, which that seems very, very realistic. I mean, well, I would say less realistic after this last one. I think West Final in Winnipeg, I think that's the most realistic part of that statement.
I could see that.
Winnipeg right now in the West is the team to beat. Nathan Rourke couldn't save that offensive line in BC. They need to seriously do some work in BC. As much as they tried to do everything they could to get to obviously host a home playoff game, but to run it back all the way as the host team. I mean, I think that BC has lost their opportunity. I think they've screwed up just enough that it's going to be Winnipeg. I think it's Winnipeg coming out of the West no matter what. I do think that the Edmonton Elks, if they make it, especially if they go into the playoff streaking, I think that they can make it past that first game. I don't think they make it past the first round, which would be the East semis. If they were to cross over, they do not make it past an East semi game. As discussed on Puck and Pigskin last night, the Edmonton Elks have only won 1 game against Eastern teams all season long. In the West, though. But in the West, they've won 4-3.
Right. Yeah.
4-3. So.
Yeah, I think that's realistic.
Yeah,
that's pretty realistic.
Realistic at most 3rd in the West, and if they cross over as 4th in the West, and somehow Toronto absolutely flops for the rest of the season, then no.
We'll see.
We'll see.
This game coming up is going to set the tone for that. So.
Well, and hey, anything can still happen to BC this season. Anything can happen to Saskatchewan this season. And there's a lot of other teams in play. As the other teams lose and as the Edmonton Elks win, the standings. They can jump around pretty heavily still for the next 5 weeks. We have 5 weeks of CFL regular season left.
Yeah.
5 weeks.
Crazy.
So yeah, next game September 27th on Friday. It's gonna be a huge game, and then the next home game, October 5th, the Tailgate Chili Cook-Off. It's gonna be absolutely fantastic. We're super thrilled. Fantastic partners. Next episode, we will show you the rest of the prizes for the Chili Cook-Off and what people are going to be playing for. What people are going to be competing for. So yeah, and then we got to get a hold of Dave Jamieson here soon and get ourselves an alumni member for this Chili Cook-Off. So last home game is at 7:30, same night as an Oilers home game. There you go. Thank you, John, for that info. Way she goes. Winnipeg competes with the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers compete with the Jets all the time. We're lucky to have NHL and CFL all at the same time in this town. Hey, sometimes Stingers and Riverhawks all go at the same time as well. So it happens. Puck and Pigskin is going to be here for the next home game as well. Jason is going to be in the house to taste some chili.
It's going to be popping.
Bussin'. Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, that just about does it for our show today. We got to thank you, the viewer, the listener, for tuning in tonight to the ESTY-nominated Elks Call show. You guys are awesome. Whether you're listening on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Edmonton Sports Talk, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you're listening from, we salute you. And you guys watching tonight. We had so many viewers tonight. We always appreciate the comments in the herd chat. And we obviously do this with you, for you. So for fans, from fans, we salute the fans. We thank you for tuning in tonight. Once again, my name is Scout, a.k.a. the rep from Section X.
And I'm Catherine, a.k.a. Do Even Elks.
We're the Elks Herd. This was the Elks Call, and we will see everybody in a week from now, hopefully talking about an epic Edmonton Elks win in Winnipeg.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, thanks again, everybody. Hope you have yourselves an awesome night. Cheers, everybody.
Have a good night.